Well, a question. Your spiritual you isn't confined to the material body, is it? When you say I, where do you point? To a chest that rises and falls? To a skull that buzzes with thoughts? No, no. Stress is the body's story. The I that I am is not in that story. I am that I am, says the voice out of the bush that burns and is not consumed. That which is not consumed is not under the lash of nerves or clocks or headlines. Be still and know that I am God. Be still, not your pulse alone, but the claim that your life is a pulse. The body trembles. The breath runs short. Memory drags yesterday's failures up the stairs of today and makes a parade of them. I know the tale. I do not deny the sensation, but I ask you to notice the witness. There is an awareness that beholds the trembling. The beholder is not trembling. There is a hearing of the thudding heart. The hearer is not thudding. No surgeon has ever yet found any me inside of a body, absent from the body, present with the Lord. That is not a funeral text. It is a living instruction. To be absent from the body in your thought is to be present with the peace that passeth understanding. You have been told to cope. Breathe like this, count like that, distract the mind with a brighter toy. I am not condemning any human kindness, but I am saying to you soberly that peace is not a skill. Peace is an identity. Take no thought for your life is not a counsel to neglect. It is an invitation to re-identify. When I am busy being the body's manager, anxiety is my paymaster. When I abide as the I am, peace ceases to be a project and becomes my baseline. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. In that oneness, there is no personal self to defend and no personal future to secure. In that oneness, the wave is not trying to hold back the ocean. It knows itself as ocean in expression. A woman in Oslo wrote to me, this is years ago, I felt the panic rising like a sudden winter. The hands went cold. The mind said, run. I remembered two words, I am. I sat very still, not to fix, not to fight, but to be. In less than a minute, I felt what you call the hush. The body still had a wind, but I was home. She did not hypnotize a symptom. She returned to identity. That is the way of it. And you may have your own letter to write before the week is out. Now, I am not asking you to accept a sect, nor to learn a rite. This is not ritual. This is law. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. If you enthrone the nervous system as your god, you must worship its weather. It will be your priest and king. But when you acknowledge the one, impersonal, universal, you step under the law as surely as a driver abides a traffic law and finds safety, not by luck, but by alignment. Violate 2 times 2 is 4, and you bring the wrath of mathematics upon you. Violate oneness, and you reap division. Honor oneness, and you reap peace. As you sow, so shall ye reap. So hear the promise of our hours together. Not coping, but re-identification. Not managing, but realizing. Not escape, but embodiment of the presence in micro-rhythms woven through an ordinary day. 1 minute at waking. A breath between tasks, a look through a windshield, a hand on a doorknob, little doors through which the infinite enters its own house. We will wait for the click, that gentle recognition when the actor takes the stage and the instrument falls into tune. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. And when grace is sufficiency, stress has no office to hold and no story to tell. Well, another question. Where is this I of which we speak? If I tap this skull, am I there? If I lay a hand upon the chest where a heart pounds its drum? Am I there? If I raise this right hand and say, this is me, and then lower it, have I shrunk? Now where am I? Behind the eyes? In the breath? In the blood? No. No. The faculty that beholds these thoughts and sensations is not within them. The witness of heartbeat is not the heartbeat. The one who hears the mind's clamor is not the clamor. I am that I am. That I is not in the physical, absent from the body, present with the Lord. Do not relegate that to funerals. It is the living architecture of peace. Let me say plainly, identity localized in flesh is the root of anxiety. When I think I am the body, I strap myself to its weather. When the stomach growls, I say, I am empty. When the nerves shake, I say, I am afraid. But I am not in the physical. Your spiritual you isn't confined to the material body. No surgeon has ever yet found any me inside of a body. In him we live and move and have our being. If we live and move and have our being in God, then the body moves in us, not we in it. That inversion releases the chokehold. It does not despise the body. It frees it from tyranny. Consider an old radio in your grandmother's parlor. The music that fills the room is not in the wooden box. The box receives. It translates the invisible into audible song. To worship the set is to miss the symphony. The body is a receiver. Life is the broadcast. The breath, the pulse, the sensation, these are dials and speakers. Tune them gently. Keep them in order. Yes, but do not enthrone the dial as your God. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. When sensation is seated on the throne, it becomes a cruel master. You obey its panic. You bow to its moods. You consult its aches as if they were oracles. But when the one is enthroned, impersonal, universal, indivisible sensation is restored to instrument, not sovereign. Please notice, this is delocalization, not denial. We do not deny a rainstorm because we own an umbrella. We simply do not call ourselves weather. In like manner, we do not deny tightness in a throat or quickness of breath. We simply refuse to collapse the I into them. This is freedom from confinement. Set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth. Does not instruct you to abandon earth. It bids you interpret earth from above. When you are above the field, the furrows line up of themselves. The same ground, but another vantage. The same body, but another owner. Now, if you ask, how do I live this without argument? I answer, begin by refusing to localize. Right here, without closing your eyes yet, ask, where do I actually experience I? Is it in the kneecap? In the throat? In the fingertip? The mind will try to point to a spot. Stand just a fraction of a breath behind that impulse and watch. The pointing is seen. The one who sees is not pointed at. That act of noticing loosens the knot. Be still and know that I am God. Be still, not the limbs only, but the compulsion to localize being to a square inch of skin. There is a law in this as exact as traffic or mathematics. Violate 2 times 2 is 4, and you do not anger mathematics. You injure yourself against principle. Localize the infinite to a nerve, and you will inherit the nerve's fate. Rise and fall, surge and drain. Honor the infinite as infinite, and the receiver quiets. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. In that oneness, fear loses its object, because there is no outside to threaten the I that is not inside a case. I and my Father are one, and in that one, anxiety cannot find a corner to hide in. You have not left your body behind. You have left the superstition that you ever lived inside it. You can't leave it because you aren't in it and never have been. You are the awareness in which body appears. The life that lends itself to 1,000 forms and withholds itself from none. And because this I is non-local, it is unafraid. Its safety is not distance. Its safety is indivisibility. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Not this pulse, not this hormone, not this rumor in the blood. Thy grace. When grace is sufficiency, the body is relieved of pretending to be God, and you are relieved of pretending to be a body, absent from the body in your thought, present with the Lord in your being. You discover at last that peace was not a coping skill to practice, but your name to answer. Now we come to the operative source, the only source. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. Not my cleverness, not my breath count, not a charm, not a ritual conscious oneness. I and my Father are one. When that is realized, not said, but realized, the ground settles under the feet that are not your feet at all. Peace does not arrive as a visitor. It reveals itself as home. How then? In the simplest way, which is the hardest for a managing mind. Desireless receptivity, not fixing, not pleading, not bargaining with heaven for a gentler weather. Be still and know that I am God. Not a bit of will is asked of you. Not a bit of drama is helpful to you. Not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. We enter without plan, without petition, for the only prayer that opens the door is the silent consent to be an instrument. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Listen to it until it stops being a sentence and becomes a climate. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Make the body unimportant by considerate placement. Sit where the back is supported and the body is not an interruption. There is no occult reason for any of this. It is only comfort. A chair low enough that the feet rest flat on the floor, legs uncrossed, hands light upon the lap, arms loose and unpropped, shoulders dropped, chin easy. Close the eyes, not to escape the world, but to cease consulting pictures. In this position, with the eyes closed, be virtually unaware of having a body. Let the breath breathe. Do not drive it like a tired horse. If an itch appears, notice it the way you would hear a bird 2 streets over there, but not your life. Then wait. Wait in a state of receptivity. Do not make a picture of the result. Do not aim the mind at a symptom, a person, a project. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. But do not pound the door with demands. Knock as presence knocking upon its own house. I rest here, without agenda, until the click. If you ask, what is the click? I answer, it is the subtle assurance that requires no proof. It is the inner hush that needs no sentence to describe it. It is the instant the actor takes the stage and the instrument knows it is tuned. No, it is not fireworks. It is not trance. It is the quiet certainty so light you might miss it that says, I am now consciously unioned with God. When the click comes, effort evaporates. The problem you are clutching falls through open fingers, or else guidance arises without strain as the next obvious thing. Sometimes nothing external moves at all. Yet you know within, peace, be still, and the sea obeys in your own awareness. I have sat in that silence and stood up with no new idea in the mind, and then the phone rang and the answer walked in wearing shoes. I have also waited and heard only stillness. And that stillness proved to be the guidance. Do nothing. Either way, God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. Do not tamper. Do not push. Do not try to use a law. Align with it. Practice these few minutes as you would tune a violin before a concert, not as a technique to get a better applause, but as the humility of readiness. The moment the sense of personal management relaxes, the universal begins to move of itself. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things again and again, until the words are outgrown in the wordless click. And when the click comes, let the silence have its way. For in that conscious oneness, your anxiety has no audience, your fear has no hearer, and your day inherits the tone of God's own peace. What is first in a day, the task or the tone? If you say the task, you will hurry and call hurry wisdom. If you say the tone, the tasks will inherit the wisdom. So upon waking, do not leap. Before I move, I remember. 30 seconds. Eyes, half open or closed. It matters little. Stillness matters. I and my Father are one. Not spoken to secure a result, but to recognize what already is. Gentle exhale, and let the body be the body. I am not in the physical. I do not try to breathe a holy breath. I notice that breath is happening in me, the one in whom all breath occurs. This is the day which the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Not will the circumstances make a day. The Lord has made it. I begin there. Live thou thy life in me. I seek not events, only presence. You may think this is too little to alter an ocean of hours. No, no. The seed is small, the harvest is large. As you sow, so shall ye reap. Sowing is not merely doing. It is identifying. As you sow identity at dawn, so shall you reap tone all day. The engineer does not argue with gravity. He builds in accord with it, and the building stands. The musician does not argue with pitch. She tunes, and harmony flows. So also with spiritual law. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Kingdom first, things added. Tone precedes tasks. Identity precedes itinerary. Now, practicality. Do not make a chapel out of the pillow and a marketplace out of the kitchen. There is no separation of sacred and simple. Rise gently and carry the awareness to the sink. The water runs. Do not attempt to baptize yourself into holiness. Simply notice that the same presence that watched the breath watches the stream and the sound. I and my Father are one. The kettle warms. Let the flame be a reminder that life warms all activity from within. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Not caffeine, not schedule, not my personal genius. Thy grace. Stand before the calendar and do not ask it to prophesy your day. Say within, live thou thy life in me. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. I seek not events, only presence. Then pencil in the appointments. The order is everything. If you ask, must I avoid the news, the phone, the clatter? I never give human advice. I am not concerned with your gadgets. I am concerned with your God. Put first things first. Seek first. If the 30 seconds lengthen to a minute because the click comes that light assurance without argument, so be it. If no click appears, do not push. Do not try to use a law to purchase a smoother commute or a kinder boss. Stand in obedience to the law of one. Be still and know that I am God. Knowing is the sowing. The day reaps it in its own way. When distraction comes, and it will, as surely as the kettle hisses, use the breath as a bell that rings you home. Gentle exhale. I am not in the physical. Gentle assent. I and my Father are one. Not to escape dishes and doorbells, but to let them occur in God instead of in a frightened self, absent from the body in your thought, present with the Lord in your being. Wash a cup as transparency. Pour tea as transparency. Conference a colleague as transparency. There are not two lives, one for prayer and one for work. No. There is one life, and it is God, and we are the instrument. A young man wrote me, I used to wake with a race in my chest, hand leaping to the screen. I tried alarms and rules and failed. Then I gave 30 seconds to unknown breath, and that single line, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. I walked to the sink with it. By noon, the same number of tasks had occurred, but they had not occurred to me. They occurred in God. That is the harvest. When tone precedes tasks, tasks take on the tone. So, at first light, sow identity. Sow it with a gentle exhale, with a single sentence humbly offered, with a body unargued because it is not your locality. Do not bargain. Do not dramatize. Consent. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. From pillow to sink to kettle to calendar, let there be one unbroken acknowledgement. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. And the day, like good soil, will do what soil has always done with true seed. It will bring forth after its kind. Now the feet begin to move. The screen begins to blink. The engine waits for your hand. Do not rush from the hush. Before the finger touches the notification, before the key turns or the button glows, allow the smallest reverence. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Not as a charm to command a green light, but as admission that one presence is the driver of your day. In him we live and move and have our being. If I move in him, then this motion is sacred motion, not personal hustle. The body may say, hurry. The calendar may glare, but stress is the body's hurried story. The I that I am is not in that story. I am isn't late. Consider the law beneath the roadway. Cars of 1,000 colors, wills of 1,000 tempers. Yet safety, when it comes by impersonal law. You do not create harmony by leaning your bumper into another man's lane. You honor the lane, and harmony appears. It is the same in consciousness. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Let us not enthrone personal force as our God. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. When I am aligned with that oneness, I do not need to control the behavior of strangers. Order arises by law, as certainly as 2 times 2 is 4. Violate the traffic law, and the crash is not a punishment from an angry policeman. It is consequence within principle. So too, attempt to use a spiritual law to bend a circumstance, and you will bend yourself. Do not tamper with a cosmic law. It is a double-edged sword. Practice non-interference. You do not manage other drivers. You maintain your lane in God. Your hands rest on the wheel lightly. Your eyes watch. Your heart is quiet. And within you the word repeats without strain. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. If someone cuts in, the body wants to take offense, but offense is only worship of a rival God self as sovereign. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Better still, see through it. There is only one. Love thy neighbor as thyself, even at 50 miles an hour, and the letting in becomes a sacrament. You have not lost a place in a line. You have aligned with a law. As you sow, so shall ye reap. When a red light appears, the old identification says, now time is being stolen. Who steals from the infinite? Be still and know that I am God. Use the pause as altar. One breath that is not yours. I am not in the physical. One assent that does not plead. I and my Father are one. The light changes of itself. If it does not, you are unchanged in him. I do not say neglect the clock. I say refuse to be its captive. This is the day which the Lord hath made. The Lord has not made a late day. Only the body says too slow or too fast. Spirit moves in perfect rhythm, and when you identify a spirit, you inherit rhythm. Carry the click's afterglow between doorways, elevators, and calendar shifts. At the elevator, do not stare at numbers as if they were fate. Let the ding be a bell of remembrance. At the threshold, hand on the knob, whisper within, live thou thy life in me. In the corridor, feet striking carpet, let each footfall be. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. When the phone vibrates, do not pounce. Let one heartbeat pass in God. You are not delaying response. You are relocating the responder. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. A letter came from a nurse who drove the dawn shift. The freeway was a ribbon of red lights. I used to grind my teeth and lecture strangers who could not hear me. Then I began giving one silent line before ignition, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things, and kept it as a background hum. Sometimes the road cleared, sometimes it did not. But I arrived unbroken, and the first patient received a whole nurse, not a frayed one. That is the harvest, not the conquest of traffic, but the transparency of presence. Remember, do not try to use a law to purchase an empty lane or to send a storm to another county. Seek first the kingdom, seek identification, and the day arranges itself by principle. There can be no selfish purpose in a cosmic law. When you want nothing from the road loses its power to take anything from you. In motion or at rest, absent from the body in your thought, present with the Lord in your being, peace doesn't lag behind. It rides within. And across the small crossings of a day, door to street, street to office, office to call, let there be one unbroken password, spoken without strain and believed without bargaining. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Now the door opens upon the desk, the dashboard of tasks, the calendar that looks like a chessboard. Do not change gods when you change rooms. There is still only one presence, many tasks. I am not in the physical. I am not the owner of outcomes. I am the transparency. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. So before the first key is struck or the first word is sent, give 10 seconds that are not negotiation but consecration. Father, glorify thyself. Live thou thy life in me. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things, not to purchase a victory, but to declare ownership rightly. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. Which task first? The loudest one? The one that flatters the ego? No, no. Sequence over strain, one presence expresses as one orderly rhythm. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Do one thing as instrument, and the next thing reveals itself in that same oneness, the way cars link on a rail, not by panic, but by coupling. 2 times 2 is 4. Principle arranges correctness without hurry. When you push 3 to become 5 by force, you invite confusion. When you push 3 meetings into one mind by will, you invite the same. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, seek identification, and all these things shall be added. Sequence is added. Strain is the sign of ownership. Sequence is the sign of one. Emails and meetings are not arenas of selves in collision. They are opportunities to practice the second law that is like unto the first. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Love them in thought before you write them in words. No sharp elbows in the unseen. Do not pre-argue the meeting. Do not rehearse retorts. Judge not, that ye be not judged. 10 seconds before reply all. Father, glorify thyself. I and my Father are one. Then let the sentence that remains after the heat is emptied be the sentence you send. A soft answer turneth away wrath. You are not dulling truth. You are unveiling it without weaponry. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. Therefore, I cannot be at war with your idea if it is of God. If it is not, it will fall of itself under the weight of principle. I need not swing at it. I never give human advice. Not to you, not even to myself at my own desk. I await inward prompting. 10 seconds, eyes down, but awareness up. Be still and know that I am often in that little hush. The misplaced decimal lights up like a beacon. The real question for the client arises behind the question he asked, or the word I was about to speak drops off the tongue ungiven, and peace inherits the room. A manager wrote me, our product launch was tangled in 12 opinions. I kept wanting to win. I remembered to wait. In the wait, I heard one word, listen. I did. 3 sentences later, the person I had planned to overrule offered the very sequence we needed, and it felt as if the work arranged itself. That is the witness. Solutions appear where striving ceases. Clarity replaces hurry when ownership dissolves. Be warned and be safe. Do not try to use a law to bend a colleague or to hypnotize a client into acquiescence. Do not pray for the signature as if God were a broker of contracts. There can be no selfish purpose in a cosmic law. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. If you try to manipulate with thought, you bring the double-edged sword upon yourself. As you sow, so shall ye reap. Instead, consent to be the clear glass through which love sees, and let right outcomes be the fruit of right identification. The harvest belongs to principle. All day, keep the micro rhythm. 10 seconds before the call, 10 seconds after, not to analyze, but to hand back, Father, glorify thyself. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. When pressure mounts, do not look for an escape hatch. Look for the click. Sometimes it lands in a single exhale. Sometimes it asks you to wait 5 minutes before sending what your zeal wrote. Either way, absent from the body in your thought, present with the Lord in your being, you will find that tasks no longer occur to a harried owner. They occur in God. One presence, many tasks. And under that one, outcomes clarify. Not because you tightened your grip, but because you opened your hand. I and my Father are one. In that oneness, work becomes worship, colleagues become neighbors, and anxiety finds it has no office left in which to sit. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things again and again, until the day itself speaks it back to you without words. Midway through the day, the body asks for bread, and the calendar asks for more of you. Do not feed either with fear. Pause before the plate or the cup, and look not at nutrients as a savior, nor at hunger as a tyrant. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. This is not a scold against eating. It is freedom from the superstition that calories are your life. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Whisper it, not as a ritual blessing upon food, but as recognition of source. Grace is the life of the grain before it was milled. Grace is the life of you before you were named. Receive the meal as a sacrament of what already is. In him we live and move and have our being. Eat, then, not as a body clutching supply, but as awareness witnessing supply appear within itself. I am not in the physical. I do not worship the fork, nor fear the emptiness between meals. I worship one. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. If others sit with you, let your speech be guarded by the same law that guards traffic. Words are not toys, they are levers. Out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh, and as you sow, so shall ye reap. Decline complaint and fear, not by censoring conversation into pious silence, but by refusing to rehearse a lie. When you rehearse, you magnify. If a colleague begins the litany of how dark the market is, how foolish the management is, do not slap a spiritual label on their mouth. Love your neighbor as yourself by not joining the chorus of doom. A soft answer turneth away wrath. You may say gently, let us see what good is present. Or you may say nothing, and let presence be the sentence. Violate 2 times 2 is 4, and the bridge collapses whether or not you meant to. Violate love and harmony collapses whether or not you felt justified. There is no selfish purpose in the cosmic law. It will not bend for your cleverness. It will bless your obedience. Now finish the meal without ownership. Thank the hands that grew and prepared it, yes, but thank them as instruments, not as sources. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. We are merely the instruments. Then, if life allows, take 5 minutes and walk not to burn calories, not to tally steps, but to remove the body from thought, absent from the body in your thought, present with the Lord in your being, eyes soft, no phone, no plan. Let the feet strike the earth as metronome. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Do not drive the breath. Let the breath happen in you. Be still and know that I am God. Wait without bargaining for the click. If the click comes, a small interior hush, a felt rightness, without any sentence, let it have the whole corridor. If it does not, do not force. Return to the desk carrying not a technique but a tone. Do not despise small obediences. The 5 unclaimed minutes will order the 5 crowded hours that follow. It is the same mathematics as morning. Tone precedes tasks. And your oneness does not stop at the cafeteria door. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea, even those I shall never meet today, even those whose names I cannot pronounce, even those at tables where there is no bread at all. Do not try to project yourself. I hope you will never try to do it. Do not meddle with minds, but know that oneness is law. And in that knowing, cooperation appears where competition had seemed inevitable, and quiet generosity substitutes for tight accounting. Give, and it shall be given unto you, is not a merchant's trick. It is description of a universe whose center is not a stomach, but God. If the body grows drowsy after eating, do not whip it with shame. No, that is still worship of the physical. Let the eyelids close for 1 minute at the desk. 1 minute, not a nap, a surrender. Live thou thy life in me. Father, glorify thyself. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. In that minute, notice that the weariness is witnessed. The witness is not weary. And then return to the task as instrument, not owner, carrying the sweetness of the remembered word as a background hum. The afternoon will taste different, not because you have switched menus, but because you have switched gods. And if you find yourself at a table where gossip is the main course, remember the same impersonal law that holds up bridges holds up peace. You violate 2 times 2 equals 4, and structures fail. You violate love, and fellowship fails. Choose then the sturdier beam. Say little, bless much. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. When you cannot change the subject, you can change the seat of identity. Sit in, I am. There, even unhelpful words dissolve into the greater silence, and you rise from the table unentangled. Midday grace is not a ritual. It is a reset. It resets sufficiency from outer supply to inner source. It resets speech from rehearsal of fear to the accent of love. It resets motion from management to receptivity. It resets identity from eater to instrument. And as surely as the afternoon sun shifts the shadows on your street, this little obedience shifts the climate of a life. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. At the table, on the path, at the desk, for me, for neighbors seen and unseen, for the world I shall never manage and need never try to. I and my Father are one. In that oneness, the next hour inherits peace. When friction appears, an email with heat in it, a tone sharpened in the corridor, a deadline pressing like a thumb on the chest, do not grab back. Step out of the body's story. No, I will not manipulate minds or events. Be still and know that I am God. One exhale that is not yours. I am not in the physical. One remembrance that is not bargaining. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Wait, if only for a heartbeat, not to collect arguments, but to await the click. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. Do not draft a prayer designed to win. Do not craft a silence designed to punish. This is not coping. This is reidentification. In my oneness with God, I find my peace before there is a solution on paper. Hold the boundary of law. There can be no selfish purpose in a cosmic law. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. If you try to put self-will in the place of God and call it spiritual, you have only made a sharper sword to cut yourself with. As you sow, so shall you reap. Violate 2 times 2 is 4, and the bridge fails, whether or not you meant well. Try to use inner knowing to outmaneuver a brother, and you violate the same principle that bears you up. It is the same with traffic safety comes by honoring the impersonal lane. Crash comes by personal privilege. Do not tamper with a cosmic law. Align with it. Let love be law, not leverage. How then to proceed? First, sow peace in thought. Judge not that ye be not judged. Empty the inner courtroom. Then wait for the click. When the quiet assurance descends light as a bird landing on a branch, speak or do not speak. From that, sometimes the right word is forgive me, and it melts a quarrel that had promised to be an afternoon of warfare. Sometimes the right act is to say nothing at all and let heat lose its fuel. A soft answer turneth away wrath. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. If there is no click, do nothing. Don't push a sentence into a silence that is not granted permission. Remember, the golden rule is not a motto for the back of a school book. It is ancient law, echoed in scriptures older than the prophets by 1,500 years and found in many tongues. As ye would that men should do to you, do ye also to them. Love thy neighbor as thyself. It is universal because it is structural. It is mathematics of the soul. Do unto others is not advice. It is architecture. Build by it, and the house stands. Ignore it, and you must live in the drafts of your own making. So, in conflict, do not ask, how can I win? Ask, how can I obey? Obedience to love is victory already, whether or not an email bows to your wish today, and you must forgive yourself within the same law. You have as much right to forgive yourself 70 times 7 as you have to forgive your neighbor. Self-attack is still attack. It sows thorns in the mind that later you call anxiety. Release it. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus. If a mistake was made, correct it if you can. Make amends where love directs, and then return to identity. I and my Father are one, absent from the body in your thought, present with the Lord in your being. Let the hook of self-blame fall back into the sea. A foreman wrote me of 2 men ready to swing fists over a shipment. He stepped between them, but before he spoke, he took one breath that he did not own. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things, and waited. The words that came were simple, not tactical. We are one crew. The room exhaled. One nodded. The other sat down. He said, I had planned the lecture. Instead, I offered oneness, and the problem arranged itself. That is law at work, impersonal love, not clever control. So, in the heat of afternoon, stand on principle. Do not meddle with minds. Do not bend outcomes with prayer as crowbar. Sow peace, wait for the click, then let speech or silence be love's own act. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. Therefore, I cannot be at war and be true. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things again and again, until even friction becomes an altar, and obedience to love resolves what coping never could. Evening descends, and the senses reach for screens and stories. Do not give them the first word. Before devices or debriefs, sit. A chair low enough to support you. Hands relaxed, eyes closed. In this position, be virtually unaware of having a body. Gentle exhale, unowned. I am not in the physical, absent from the body in my thought, present with the Lord in my being. Be still and know that I am God. Not a command to perform stillness, but a remembrance of what underlies motion. Let the breath happen in you. Let the room be as it is. The world lived without your commentary all day. It can wait another minute while you return to identity. Now, without drama, spread the day before consciousness as one would set papers upon a table. Inventory, without judgment. no trophies, no whips. Neither victory nor failure defines I am. Judge not, that ye be not judged. A meeting that went well is not your stature. A word spoken poorly is not your essence. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. I and my Father are one. If there is amends to make, note it for the morning in love. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath and release the heat now. Self-attack is still attack. It only sows thorns for the pillow. No, no. Lay down the cudgel and the crown alike. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus. Release the day. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. Thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. Hand back every outcome you tried to own, signed or unsigned, praised or ignored, into the same source from which the impulse came. Cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. Not as a merchant trades coin for favor, but as truth returns to truth. If you feel the fingers tightening around a result, open the hand. The harvest belongs to principle, the peace belongs to identity. Take a slim text, perhaps the worn book by your chair, and read a single line, one line only. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Or, I will both lay me down in peace and sleep. For thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. Close the book. Do not collect verses like charms. Sit again, desireless, and wait. I wait in a state of receptivity until finally the click comes. Sometimes it is as soft as a leaf settling on a path, a rightness that requires no sentence. If it does not come, do not force. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. The waiting is already prayer. Prepare sleep as surrender, not escape. We do not flee the day. We hand it back to the one who lived it through us. Into thy hands I commend my spirit. Rest in presence, not in fatigue. Fatigue is a story about the body. Rest is a fact about God. He giveth his beloved sleep, say within, not to buy dreams, but to reveal law. Live thou thy life in me, even in sleep. In him we live and move and have our being, wakeful and sleeping. The one that keeps Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Let awareness keep watch while the senses go dark, and you will find that rest does not begin at eyelids. It begins at surrender. If a memory pierces as you turn out the light, do not wrestle it. One breath that is not yours. I am not in the physical. One password without bargaining. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Love your neighbor there, too. Even the neighbor who lives in last hour's mistake. Forgive, and you are forgiven 70 times 7, if need be. Then let silence have the floor. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. Therefore, even the unseen world of sleep is friendly, governed by the same impersonal love as noon. Evening peace is not earned. It is recognized. It comes when you hand the day back to the one who lived it through you. Not I, but Christ liveth in me. As you surrender ownership, the night ceases to be a pit to fall into. It becomes a sea on which you float, upheld by law, carried by grace. And you will wake tomorrow, not with a ledger to settle, but with the same word that closed your eyes. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things, already humming, already home. When the eyes fly open at 2 or 3 and the room seems to lean with shadow, do not hunt for an enemy. Do not name it insomnia. Do not bargain for a remedy. First, behold This is weather in the body. Sensations rise like wind on the pane. Images dart like branches in a gust. I am is the sky that holds the weather without being moved by it. I am not in the physical, absent from the body in my thought, present with the Lord in my being. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Do not wrestle the waves. Change the witness. Let breath become the bell of remembrance. On the inhale, with no strain, let the word rise, I am. On the exhale, without purchasing a result, let the password release. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Inhale, I am. Exhale, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. You are not counting. You are not dosing yourself with numbers. You are identifying. Be still and know that I am God. The body may continue its weather. Behold it as weather. I am does not weather. Refuse human advice to the future. Midnight is not a boardroom. Do not rehearse speeches to a boss you shall meet at 9. Do not compose letters you will not send. Take no thought for the morrow. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. I never give human advice, least of all to tomorrow from a bed in the dark. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. If guidance belongs to you in the morning, it will come by law, not by midnight argument. Wait without bargaining for the click. Sometimes, as you breathe the name and the password, there is a soft descent, a rightness that needs no sentence, the click, and you know without knowing why that you are home. If it does not come, do not force. Do not turn the mantra into a crowbar. Abide. Sometimes the silence is the remedy. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. If a thought knocks, let it pass through a door you do not hold. If a fear shouts, answer only with the law. I and my Father are one. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. If the heart drums, let it drum in God. If the room lists with images, let them list in God. You do not have to like the weather. You do not have to hate it. You are not the weather. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. Therefore, even this hour is friendly, governed by impersonal love. He maketh the storm a calm, so that the waves thereof are still. That calm may arrive as sleep, or it may arrive as wakeful rest in presence. Either way, rest is not in eyelids. Rest is in God. Return to rest without forcing sleep. He giveth his beloved sleep, yes, but he also gives rest, and the rest precedes the sleep. Let the body lie as it lies. Let the eyes open or close as they will, and discover that you are rested in I am, whether or not a dream comes to claim you. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He restoreth my soul. Restoration is not a trick of chemistry. It is identity realized. Inhale, I am. Exhale, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. If the room brightens toward dawn while you are yet awake, do not add condemnation to the tally. There is therefore now no condemnation. The one that keeps Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Let awareness keep watch, and you will find you were kept, even if clocks say otherwise. A mother once wrote, I used to pace at 2, advising tomorrow in 100 anxious sentences. Then I learned to breathe the name in and the password out. Some nights the click came, some nights it did not. But I rose whole either way. That is the fruit. not the conquest of darkness, but the sanctuary within it. At night, grace is the password that returns awareness from storm to sanctuary. Speak it without strain. Believe it without bargaining. Abide in it until the silence itself becomes your lullaby. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. I am. And whether you sleep now or soon, you are already held. Trace the arc with me once more, not to rehearse a technique, but to reveal a single life. Wake, move, work, eat, contend, rest, one presence, many scenes. The body story says stress increases with motion, with meetings, with midnight. No. Stress is the body's story. I am is not stressed. You do not fix it by coping with its chapters. You end it by changing authorship. I am not in the physical, absent from the body in my thought, present with the Lord in my being. I watch a day live itself. I and my Father are one. When identity shifts, peace ceases to be an errand and becomes the baseline on which errands appear and dissolve. So make it simple. Keep it holy. Set a quiet chime each hour, not as a superstition, but as a friendly bell at the monastery of your day. When it sounds, give 10 to 30 seconds to presence. No bargaining. Desireless. Be still and know that I am God. Do not cram a request into the space. Consent to the click if it will, and to silence if it won't. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Then return to the task as instrument rather than owner. These micro-turnings are not coping. They are reidentification. Each one is a small relinquishment of the body's authorship, a reseeding of awareness in I am. String them through the day and you have a rosary of law, not a chain of strain. Seal it ethically, or you will try to use it and be wounded by it. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Do not make a god of projects, of health, of hurry, or of your own cleverness. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Peace is lawful, not private. It holds when it is shared. As you sow, so shall ye reap. With every hourly bell, include your neighbor in the inner benediction. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. You need not project yourself. I hope you will never try to do it. But know that law is non-local, and peace spreads by its own principle, like leaven hid in 3 measures of meal till the whole was leavened. It is a contagion of good that violates no will and requires no persuasion. In the morning, tone precedes tasks. Father, glorify thyself. Then traffic moves under law, not under you. At work, the one acts through many hands. At table, grace is sufficiency before bread. When friction appears, you wait for the click and speak only what love permits, or you say nothing at all, and impersonal law does the lifting. At dusk, you hand the day back to the one who lived it. At night, the password of grace walks you from storm to sanctuary. This is one life, one I, one presence, many scenes. The same law that makes 2 times 2 become 4 arranges harmony without your strain when you abide in identity. Violate it, and disharmony declares itself. Honor it, and the day inherits rest. Let the litany seal the heart. In my oneness with God, I find security. In my oneness with God, I find completeness. In my oneness with God, I find guidance. In my oneness with God, I find supply. In my oneness with God, I find peace. In my oneness with God, I find joy. In my oneness with God, I find fulfillment. Repeat it not to coerce, but to recognize, peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. It is not negotiated by the body. It is realized by I am. Go then with a plan that is not a leash, but a liberty. Hourly bells, 10 to 30 seconds of desireless receptivity, a watch on the lips, an obedience to love. Protect the silence from projects. Protect your neighbor from your fear. And when the mind asks whether it is working, answer not with argument, but with identity. I and my Father are one. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. And so it is. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. And I thank you